Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast where we talk about everything and anything franchising. And as you might be able to hear in the background, we're at a live event. This is a live Franchise Everything podcast at the Franchising Business Opportunities Expo in Melbourne. And we're joined, that was a lot of words very fast, we're joined by Joe Rossi, who's the founder of the Town and Country Pizza and Pasta business. How you going, Joe?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, mate. Now, for people, we're going to talk about your franchise business model today.
Sure.
But for people who don't know about Town and Country, it's Victorian. So tell me about the business for people who don't know the brand.
Yeah, we have very humble beginnings. We're an hour out of Melbourne was our original location that actually my father originally took on a store in a shopping precinct called Town and Country Shopping World. And he was very original.
The shopping world was called that, wasn't it?
It was called Town and Country Shopping World. And so that's where the name has come from. He was very original and quickly grabbed the Town and Country Pizza. Went out on a limb, of course.
Yep.
He started from very humble beginnings there, doing the daily grind as you do in a business back in that time. This is approximately 30-odd years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Day-to-day became more and more popular locally. And also on the way out to the Great Ocean Road, there was a lot of
Beautiful
opportunity
place
for tourism to swing through.
Yeah.
And so he just got more and more popular year on year. And over time, it turned into quite the hot spot. And
we'll just get this mic a bit closer.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right, mate. It's all right.
And then fast track, I guess, to around 2011, we saw some people that, as we opened our second location in another coastal town nearby, we saw some people that were working within our network and liked the opportunity of getting a store themselves. And so we decided to franchise. So
wow. When's that back? 2011?
2011.
Yeah. And how many locations have you got now?
We've got 12 locations. So obviously a bit of a COVID influx or reflection in amongst that.
Yep.
But we took our time. From that time, we grew out. We had 5 locations immediately, and we quickly grew to that size and decided to reset and get all of our infrastructure right.
So what's your product range like? So Town and Country Pizza and Pasta.
Pizza
obviously.
and pasta.
So tell me about your menu.
Yes, so predominantly pizza, a large pasta variety as well. Does help with our locations and does set us apart in relation to our competition in specific locations. So predominantly pizza and pasta. We like to stay in our lane. We don't venture too far from that. We like to say we're experts in those two main items and core items. We have risottos and salads and cater to other dietary requirements as well. But our family recipes are all behind all of these, so we try and stay true to that. And so part of that humble beginning is the fact that it's still the source for our pasta is still a rendition of my grandmother's recipe. Her lasagna is still on offer as well. And so we pay homage to that as best we can. And obviously times move on and ingredients are different over time, but we try and keep that link and that thread of family culture through our business.
So you were telling me in our little pre-chat we have about your focus on quality and excellence. And I mean, we're all diners ourselves everywhere we go, and we all get disappointed and all that sort of stuff depending on where we go. So how do you keep track of it? And a family business, I imagine the struggle in a family business, especially when you've got Nonna's recipes and everything is control. So how do you do that as you start to expand a franchise and give it out to more people?
Yeah, and that's why I say it's a rendition on her recipes, because we have to accommodate to things like consistency and quality assurance. And so we have someone employed that specifically maintains all of our ingredients and procurement of those ingredients. We like to think that from the ingredients itself is where we govern that from. And we obviously spend a lot of time working with our supply chain and obtaining the best possible ingredients we can of the highest quality that also fit economically into our business model. We can't just go and buy the absolute best ingredient or saffron at the best price to put into a risotto.
Saffron's really expensive,
isn't it? When it's not available.
It's so tiny,
to us.
it's so expensive.
And you run into trouble with things like volume. So if you are quite a high volume business like ours are, then you run into issues like that as well. So we spend a lot of time in ensuring that we're getting the best possible ingredients for the model that we run. Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, how many? You said you had 13 locations.
Yes.
Okay, so you've gone franchising since 2011.
Yes.
What's your planning like around your growth strategy and everything? Because I mean, as far as brands, I know COVID sort of throws a bit of a whammy on everything, doesn't it? Because everything, especially in Victoria, everything sort of paused for about three years or so there. So what's your view and your approach to growth in the business? You've kept pretty local.
I mean, it's very common for people to say that they're wanting to partner with the right people. We absolutely do.
Which every franchisor says that.
Absolutely, and I think that there's also a lot of concepts that lend themselves to growing very quickly. We don't like to say that we're either of those situations. We like to partner with people, of course, that are great operators and get to that point. But I guess the simple way to say it is grow properly, not just for the sake of growing. It's very easy to say we'll do a rollout of many locations, but it's also very important that each location performs really well. So what we've decided is that if we can, we'll have multi-unit operators or incoming franchisees, but we will take our time and really put a lot of energy into which location they're heading into and really ensure that they've got the best chance for success and to have a high volume location instead of lots of mediocre locations across a market.
And what's your location strategy like? So you're very still much regional Victoria, is that right?
We have been heavily focused on regional Victoria. We're fortunate that that's where we came from. So we quickly capitalized on the fact that we could get a grip on that market whilst some of the larger brands than us couldn't. And that's proved to be really, really fortunate for us, especially through COVID. Obviously, that was a great advantage as well. And now we're holding on to those markets. We'd like to say we've got them pretty much locked down. And so we're now making our way into the metro areas. We're fortunate
it's
that we
interesting.
came from that
In my previous days as a franchise executive, when in donut businesses and coffee businesses, those regional centres, those one-store towns, we called them, were always absolute crackers. So they would, from a franchise perspective, they would always be our top performers.
Yeah, look, and it's no secret that that's the case in a lot of places, but we're fortunate that we've got the infrastructure to be able to go to those locations and actually get a franchisee to be able to operate and own their store in those areas. I think that's the challenge for some of the other brands.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's always got a challenge with regional, you know, trying to find regional. How do you go with delivery? So what's your position on delivery? So do you have your split, should I say, on delivery?
Yes.
Because your pizza obviously is very much a delivery-driven thing, but I imagine you're not at the lower end of cost on pizza. You're more of a specialty type of pizza.
Yes, we'd like to say we're a premium offering. And the reason we say that is not because we want to pigeonhole ourselves into the wood fire pizza market or anything like that. We are still a high volume product. It's just a premium offering that's out there, and we're comfortable to say we sit in between some of the other offerings that are out there. Quite a niche. In relation to delivery,
to dine-in percentage in your businesses.
So it's about we can anywhere from 20 to 30% of our business is in delivery at the moment. Some locations it's higher and some it's lower. Our restaurants, we really run from a simple principle of a third, a third, a third. And so we'd like to say our restaurant and takeaway delivery models that have the whole hog, that's the ratios. And then our takeaway outlets can vary, depending on the location.
And you've chosen not to partner with third-party delivery apps, haven't you?
Very much so.
Can you talk? Because we've talked about that before, and we've written quite a bit of content on it as well, because I know that it's a very contentious issue, delivery app percentages and costs and everything they take out of your business. Talk us through your rationale on that. Yes,
we get questioned on this a lot. And the reason is because we take quite a strong position. We don't partner with any of them. Our theory is that we want to know every single customer in the best way possible that we can. So the data, although we're a smaller brand, right now it's probably the most important thing that we can have insight to is who our customer is. And on behalf of the franchisee, we try our best to get that information and translate that and work it to their advantage. And the reason we don't partner with them is not only just because of the fact that we don't own our customer on those platforms. We never say never, of course, but the other opportunity is in the experience itself. And we just keep getting countless examples of when those platforms or drivers for those platforms and so on, where those experiences end up just going
can't
really
control
bad.
it.
You can't control it. You can't put a uniform on that particular person to give people reassurance during times like COVID that, you know, everything is controlled and health wise being looked after, just to give your customer extra confidence that they're getting an experience from the store to their door. To be able to control that process for us is, we think, the most important thing. It comes under our principles of operating our entire business.
So how does that impact on your cost base? So have you done analysis on that cost basis compared to, like, say, your own delivery person via the others? Because I'm sure this is a real issue a lot of people are starting to go back to look at.
Absolutely. And you know, if you look at the whole hog where you have to hand over 30% of a transaction, there's the other offerings that they're now doing with, I think it's Uber Direct or DoorDash, where you can hire their drivers to have that experience as well. And look, economically, it can come out in the wash, and a lot of the time you're trying to overcome that. But you've got to remember your customer, to overcome those costs on those platforms, you'll have to charge to cover it, because otherwise it's coming out of your franchisee's pocket. And so the customer isn't silly. Eventually they're going to get wise to the fact that they're getting charged either 30% more or 20% more just to cover those aspects. Because we own all of our tech and control all the tracking software along with that, we can compete and not have to impose that cost onto our franchisees, and therefore not the customer.
And you're building a database of fantastic knowledge as well,
we know
aren't you?
everything about everything possible we can collect and do. And so, as I said, never say never, because some markets they're there. Look, some of our regional stores, it simply doesn't exist, so we don't use any platforms. Other markets, we outcompete them. And Deliveroo is a great example. They talk about short delivery times, but within a 5 kilometre radius, we were actually outperforming them by 10 or 15 minutes. So those kind of comparisons for us aren't convincing enough yet to partner with those.
It's fairly typical. I think it's almost the model of that tech companies, well, that Silicon Valley approach is
Correct.
Let's disrupt, let's break it.
Yeah.
And let's keep it entry cost low so everyone can adopt it, and then we'll just inch everything up, and then we'll take what we want afterwards.
Absolutely.
And the service drops.
And look, we thank them for disrupting the market and allowing us to adopt the technology as well and paving the way, so to speak. But I think long term, the consumer isn't silly. They can't just keep paying a premium on that experience. And the franchisees, it's very apparent in the industry that they're having a hard time.
I heard a promotion on radio yesterday about something like, was it DoorDash or one of them saying free delivery for a year or 6 months or 3 months or something. So I'm not sure what they're doing there, but they're clearly trying to compete in the marketplace with that sort of stuff.
I assume, I'm not in that industry, but I assume it's tech strategy where you're just taking back market share if you can get it. And the pricing war usually is a sign of tough times.
Absolutely.
I don't know if the Uber's even been profitable as yet.
Yeah.
And I'm still yet to hear that.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, I don't try to spend too much time looking into that.
Of course.
Keep an eye on our own four walls. Yeah.
So speaking of tough times, so how you position yourself premium.
Yes.
So how does it work with you in the current economic climate where things are a bit more challenging with inflation and everything? So how's you, from a franchisee perspective, entering the business, and also from a consumer perspective, how are you positioning yourself for that?
We have structured our franchising costs first and foremost to be a little lower than what the general market rate is, and that's the royalties themselves and marketing costs and so on as well. In addition to that, our initial franchising costs are also lower than the average market rate for a reason. We're obviously trying to grow as well, and we want to make that be the case. We also understand that the hospitality industry is going through some duress. The industry at large is having that be the case, but we're fortunate that we've got a different model, and with that takeaway delivery model and the adoption of our tech, an example being that we've controlled the cost of those platforms and enabled our franchisees to put that in their pocket as opposed to handing it over to that technology. We've been able to make a model that works under the current climate, and also being our price point, given where it's at and a premium offering, people are finding it more comfortable to feed to their children. They're not looking at a product that they feel guilty of offering to their kids in hard times on a Friday night instead of cooking themselves, or where the night out. A lot of people are spending more time at home because of the current climate. And so they don't have to have a bad experience at home, and they're looking for a premium offering for that reason.
So a bad $35 5 pizza experience, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're feeding multiple
toppings.
Multiple people can eat at one meal, and that's the thing is you can only get one burger for one person, but a pizza you can get at a similar cost and share it, and everyone can eat well. And so that to us is fundamental to these current times, and we've been fortunate that it's working well for us as we go. Yeah.
Excellent, Joe. Well, I know we're going to do some other things and do some tours of stores and all that sort of stuff. I can't wait to get in and see. I've never been into one of your stores.
Yes,
so
we welcome it. Thank you. And thanks for giving us an opportunity to show who we are.
Pleasure, mate. And that's thanks for being on the podcast. And that's it for another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast. So we'll catch you again soon. Again, remember, we're at the Franchising Business Opportunities Expo in Melbourne, so come on down if this is live for you right now on the live stream, and we will catch you in the next one again soon.